Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me on this channel, Adults ESL Online Learning. I'm Dr. Hernandez Smith. This video, we are going to look at part 2 of Unit 7 in the Ventures Workbook about shopping. Part 2 focuses on modals, and we are going to focus on using could and should. Part 2, grammar focus modals. Grammar focus on using could and should. I'm going to click on the grammar presentation. The video is available by clicking on the watch QR code and you can see the same video. This is from the e-student workbook on the Cambridge One website. The chart reads, use could to give suggestions. Use should to give advice. Should gives stronger advice than could. Could for suggestions. You could get a smaller car and save money. He could keep his money in a savings account. Should for advice. What should I do? You should open a savings account. And the video is 2 minutes and 45 seconds long. And then there is a practice section. And there are my notes, and you can listen to the audio recording of this being read out loud correctly. So I'm going to show the Google Slides that are taken from the student's book online. This is part 2, the grammar focus using could or should, and clicking on the Unit 7 shopping will take you to the e-student workbook. Grammar focus. Could and should. Use could to give suggestions. Use should to give advice. Should give stronger advice than could. Could for suggestions. You could get a smaller car and save money. He could keep his money in a savings account. These are just ideas being shared for, like it says, suggestions. Should has a stronger weight to it. Should is for advice. What should I do? You should open a savings account. Complete the sentences. Use could or should. Number 1, my rent is going up again. What should I do? B, here's my advice. You're a good tenant. I think you should talk to your landlord. And the key word is advice. I also want to read this useful language. For suggestions, you can say, why don't you, plus the verb, and then the question. Or how about, plus noun, and then the question. How about, and then the verb plus ing. Number 2, A. I have to fix my credit. What should I do? You talk to a debt counselor. He can help you. Should. You should talk to a debt counselor. He can help you. Number 3, A. Can you suggest a nice restaurant? It's my wife's birthday. You could try Chow's, or how about Anita's? Suggest means you need ideas. You're not asking for advice. You just want some suggestions. And the other keyword, or how about, means there's options. So it's more of the possibility of going to Chow's or Anita's. Number 4, A. It's my niece's 16th birthday next week. What could I get her? B. Why don't you get tickets to a concert, or you buy her a CD? I'm going to go with could, and these are different ideas being shared. Tickets to a concert or a CD. Why don't you get tickets to a concert, or you could buy her a CD? Number 5, A. That vocational school is very expensive. I can't afford it. Can you give me any advice? Well, you're a good student. I think you apply for a scholarship. I think should is the best fit because a person A is asking for advice. And there's the word advice. Number 6, A. I need a new car. Where do you suggest I look for one? B. How about looking in the newspaper or you online? Look online. I think could is the best fit. Suggest is the keyword. Number 7, I just got another parking ticket. It's getting harder and harder to park in this neighborhood. B, I think sell that car. You don't really need it. This one is a little ambiguous, tricky, because there aren't any keywords like suggest or advice, but the tone of the tone of the situation in person A's sentence seems a little desperate, upset, and not knowing what to do. And B says, I think, in my opinion, I think you should sell that car. You don't really need it. It's more advice. Number 8, A, I'm going to be in New York City in July. Any ideas for things to do? B, well, you see a Broadway show or you walk in Central Park or you go to a museum. There are so many things to do. I think could is best fit, although it depends on, again, who you're asking. They might be adamant about seeing one of these sites or one of their suggestions. Well, you could see a Broadway show, or you could walk in Central Park, or you could go to a museum. There are so many things to do. And looking at this useful language, it's interesting to be able to point out examples. For example, How about Anita's? For example, how about Anita's? It uses how about and the noun. Anita's, the restaurant. Let's look at number 5. That vocational school is very expensive. I can't afford it. Can you give me any advice? Well, I think you're a good student. Oh, this was already done. I did do this. Number 6, I need a new car. Where do you suggest I look for one? B, how about looking in the newspaper? Or you could look online. Okay, and again, I'm going to just highlight another example as useful language. Why don't you is very matches why don't you and the verb. Why don't you get tickets to a concert? And number 6, how about the verb plus ing? How about looking in the newspaper? Those are just, again, examples being used in these sentences. In the student workbook online on Cambridge One's website, there is a QR. There is an audio track to this section. Click on it and you can listen to these answers and, of course, practice. The next section is talking with a partner. Take turns, read the problems, make suggestions, or give advice. Number 1, my car broke down. Number 2, my rent is going up $150. Number 3, it's getting cold in here. Number 4, I can't afford a new washing machine. Number 5, these shoes look terrible. And number 6, I don't have enough cash to pay for groceries. Number 7, I got a bad haircut. Number 8, my neighbors are really noisy. Okay, so let's take turns. Number 1 is done for us. A, my car broke down. Number 2, A, my car broke down. You could take the bus or A. Number 1, A, my car broke down. B, you could take the bus or you could ask someone for a ride. Number 2, my rent is going up $150. B, you could talk to your landlord or you could find a cheaper apartment. Number 3, A, it's getting cold in here. B, you could turn up the thermostat or you could put on a sweater. Number 4, A, I can't afford a new washing machine. You could wash your clothes at the laundromat, or you could call the insurance company. Number 5, A, these shoes look terrible. B, you should throw the shoes away and buy a new pair. Number 6, I don't have enough cash to pay for these groceries. You could use your credit card, or I could lend you the money. Number 7, A, I got a bad haircut. B, you could wear a cap, or you could go back to the salon and get a new haircut. Number 8, A, my neighbors are really noisy. You should talk to them during the day. Now we're going to write a suggestion or advice for each of these pictures. So we're just going to write this down. The first example says, number 1, my car broke down. And the suggestion is you could take the bus or you could ask someone for a ride. Number 2, my rent is going up $150. You could look for a cheaper apartment or ask for a raise. Number 3, it's getting cold in here. You could raise the thermostat or wear a sweater. Number 4, I can't afford a new washing machine. You should check if it has warranty or look for a used one. Number 5, these shoes look terrible. You should buy a new pair and throw those away. Number 6, I don't have enough cash to pay for groceries. You could pay with a credit card or I can lend you the money. Number 7, I got a bad haircut. You could wear a hat or go to another salon. Number 8, my neighbors are really noisy. You should talk to them or ask the apartment office to talk to them. And here are 5 scenarios for us to practice making suggestions or giving advice. The first one says, Helen spends too much money on food. She could collect coupons and use those coupons. She could also compare prices at different stores and decide which store has the best deals. Number 2, Gregory spends too much money on clothes. He could sell his clothes and the clothes that he doesn't use and make some money from selling his clothes. And he could also reuse his clothes, style them differently, and make new outfits. Number 3, Teresa spends too much money on rent. She could get a roommate. She could look for a cheaper apartment, or she can also talk to her landlord and discuss her options. Number 4, Yusef spends too much money on his cell phone plan. He could buy a prepaid phone and only use that phone. He could use different apps and make his phone calls using those apps that are free. And he can also send emails or texts. Or he could shop for a cheaper cell phone plan. The last one, number 5, Melinda spends too much money on her car payments. She could refinance her car, or she could look for a cheaper car and trade in her car for this other less expensive vehicle. She could sell her car and just take the bus and invest in a bicycle. She has different options. We'll stop here, and thank you very much for joining me today in this lesson, and I'll see you in the next video where we will be looking at Part 2 Modals, Lesson A, B, C, and also the homework. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.